Phil Jones, and welcome to VYPE TV, a show that highlights local athletes, their schools, and their communities. On today's show, it's the first week of boys basketball playoffs, and many North Texas teams are capable of earning state titles this year. We'll take you to McKinney, where soccer has become the center of one family's life. It's this week's family affair. Football is always on the minds of North Texans, and our recruiting expert David McNabb is here to discuss local athletes, our subject schools, our Texas A&M, and a few surprises from outside the Lone Star State. And we'll tell you about the passing of one popular coach who gave much to North Texas sports. As the boys basketball playoffs started this week, North Texas teams claimed the top 5 spots in the latest 5A state poll. Local teams also had the top 2 spots in Class 4A. We first concentrate on Class 5A. Our first game pits the Rams from Richardson-Berkner against the Rangers from Garland's Naaman Forest High School. Berkner won District 9 5A with only one district loss and was ranked 16th in the state. Naaman Forest 4th in District 10 5A, a district record of 7-7. This one figured to be an easy one for Berkner, but the Rangers had other ideas. Naaman Forest comes out hot in the first quarter, led by Michael Chambers with 12 points in the game. Naaman Forest led 18-8 after just one quarter, and they did it with fast breaks as well, as Naaman Forest led still at the half. Lake Highlands coming back, or rather Berkner coming back in this one. Berkner doing it as a team all season long. You knew they would make it close in the end. The inside game as well for Berkner, but Naaman Forest holds on to win 44-40, the final score. Another first round game had 5th-ranked Cedar Hill playing against the Blue Raiders of LD Bell, which finished 4th in District 6 5A. The big man for Cedar Hill, as he's done it throughout his career, Thomas Gibson with 17 points. He does it inside for the Longhorns. Billy Johnson doing it from outside with 11 points. Bell tries to make it a game after Cedar Hill led 17-8 after one and 35-12 at halftime. But Cedar Hill just too much for LD Bell. Not surprisingly, the Longhorns win 65-51. And joining us to talk more about Cedar Hill and Naaman Forest big upset, Tim Polzer, editor-in-chief for VYPE magazine. Thanks for being here as usual. We got a lot to talk about as these boys basketball playoffs have begun. So many teams in our area with those state ambitions. How about Naaman Forest, though, pulling off the upset in round 1 over Berkner?
That was one of the shockers. I believe there were 5 different area teams that were 4th seeds that ended up upsetting number 1 seeds in the first round. There wasn't a lot of talk other than Centennial when it came to 10-5A basketball this year. So Naaman snuck up. They got a big lead. They held Berkner's leading scorers, really shut them down through the first half, and just ended up coasting. And
the thing about Berkner is they have a really young team, and so you know the Rams will be back making some noise in the playoffs next year. But, you talk about Cedar Hill, and this is a veteran team when you consider Thomas Gibson in the middle. Of course, Gibson is headed to Kansas State next year. He was a starter as a sophomore 2 years ago when Cedar Hill made it all the way to the state championship game before losing to their neighbors from DeSoto that year.
That kind of experience is invaluable when it comes to a coach in a program. Cedar Hill, they got depth. They've got players who have been there before. And these first couple of rounds, you almost think that they're trying different combinations to look ahead when they face the tougher teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of tough teams in that region. Let's talk about now one of the top teams from Region 2, the Patriots from Garland's Lakeview Centennial High School. Can anyone stop this team? They entered the playoffs with a 31-1 record, winning 30 straight games. They handily won District 10 5A, ranked number 1 in the state, number 8 in the nation. The unlucky team to play them first was Lake Highlands, which finished 3rd in District 3 5A. Coach Tony Malden's Patriots looking to get back to the state title game, and they do it with a team effort. In fact, in this game, they had 6 players with 9 points or more as Lakeview took charge early. Lake Highlands trying to keep it close, but Lakeview, tell you what, they can put up some points. And one of their stars, of course, is Chris Jones, who scored 23 points. Todrick Gotcher had 15 for Tony Malden's team, and Lakeview wins 98-75, scoring more points than anybody in the first round of the boys playoffs. And they will be a team that will be reckoned with again this year. And as David McNabb talked about last week, Tim, Tony Malden, what they do, they create so many easy opportunities on offense with the way they play defense.
They do, and we talked about their defense last week, and it was kind of interesting that Chris Jones really had the hot hand early, and they really must have changed their lineup up quite a bit in the second half, because they gave it quite a few points in that second half, but you're not going to see that as they progress through the playoffs.
Well, you know, a lot of times you see these teams get up by so much in the first half that some of the backups get into the game and they get in some action. You know, you look ahead, and the boys 5A playoffs is going to really be something to see this coming week. Of course, you'll have the regional tournament taking place in Region 1 in Fort Worth, down in Waco in Region 2, and it's anybody's guess who's going to emerge. But I have a feeling there might be two teams from the Dallas-Fort Worth area playing in the state tournament in a couple of weeks on the boys' side. There was a lot more action earlier this week. Some of the results from the top teams in Class 5A, Flower Mound Marcus, which, by the way, has a big showdown with Duncanville tonight at R.L. Turner High School in round one. They won over Fossil Ridge. You got North Crowley was a winner in round one, advanced on to the area round. And DeSoto, another one of the top teams in the state. There's that Duncanville team ranked 8th in the state, taking on Marcus tonight at R.L. Turner in an area round game. Richland has a strong team this year under Richard Bacon. And how about Coppell, which took on Colleyville Heritage last night? Some great matchups, not only last night, but I'm really looking forward to that Marcus-Duncanville game tonight.
I think Duncanville is one of the hotter teams right now, one of the more interesting teams. That was a really good Irving team that they really beat pretty badly. So.
Yeah, and Irving had featured two of the top scorers in the entire area, and Duncanville was able to handle them. You know, with a coaching change at Duncanville, you wondered how much of it would be a transition year. They've got a tough test with this Marcus team, though. They not only play tenacious defense, but they got a well-rounded attack, of course, led by Marcus Smart.
Absolutely. We talked about Marcus and Phil Forte and Marcus Smart and just the depth that team has. And they've been, like I said last week, they've been able to change up their game depending on any kind of defense that's been thrown at them, and that's what's made them so good.
And emerged out of a tough district this year as well. All right, Tim's going to be back. We're going to have much more coming up in our next segment. Coming up next on VYPE TV, we're back with more playoff action. After the break, we'll talk about boys Class 4A and girls basketball results. And later, you'll meet a family from McKinney where the game of soccer plays a huge role in their lives. Check this out. Last week's final regular season game between Flower Mound and Flower Mound Marcus, Jaguar Jordan Green with the power dunk over the Marcus defender. Worth another look. Check out the elevation there. Jordan on his way to Texas A&M next season. Although Flower Mound lost to one of the state's top teams, Jordan Green gave them something to remember playing for Flower Mound High School. In Class 4A, Fort Worth is home to two of the state's top 10 boys basketball teams, Trimble Tech and Arlington Heights. The Bulldogs from Trimble Tech, ranked 6th in the state, finished 2nd in District 6 4A. In first round action, they played Birdville, which finished 4th in District 5 4A. Trimble Tech hoping to make a deep run in the Class 4A playoffs. And Trimble Tech all season long has been led by Cherian Knight. Birdville trying to keep it close as Samuel Northern will find the bottom of the bucket right there. And again, a little bit later, as Birdville did keep it close for a little bit. However, Trimble Tech was just too much. Julius Harris leading the way for the Bulldogs as they won in convincing fashion, 71-30 the final score. Fort Worth's Arlington Heights won District 6 4A with a perfect 16-0 record in the district play. And earlier this week, behind a Sean Robinson, they took on Fort Worth Boswell, which finished 3rd in 5 4A. Boswell led by Dedrick Berry. And also Kendrick Sills got into the act for Boswell, but Arlington Heights, another team that won resoundingly in round one of the Class 4A playoffs. You see the score there as Arlington Heights was a runaway winner in that game. And I think Fort Worth ISD has reason to be excited about the prospects of those two boys teams as Tim Polzer, editor-in-chief for VYPE Magazine, rejoins me here to talk about Fort Worth ISD and a couple of teams that could make long runs. I guess both of them can't make long runs in the playoffs and make it to state because, of course, they come out of the same district. Right,
but those are two teams, Trimble at Tech and Arlington Heights, that have really been fun to watch this year. You saw the kind of points they can put up, and it does give the Fort Worth ISD a chance to get a team to advance deeper into the playoffs more than usual. It'll be interesting to see how how they fare against the non-Fort Worth teams.
And of course, we talked last week a little bit about the two teams from Dallas ISD. Of course, Kimball and Lincoln ranked 1 and 2 in the state. Those Fort Worth teams aren't too far behind them.
No, they're not. There's really some good 4A basketball in this area, and a lot of people gets overlooked by the 5A teams, but 4A is just as competitive as the other classifications.
That's exactly right, and some great college prospects as well. Week 2 of the girls basketball playoffs, and some of the results from the top teams from earlier this week as they moved on to this weekend's regional round. DeSoto playing down in Waco this weekend in the Region 2 tournament, and in Fort Worth. Now the regional final is this afternoon at Wilkerson Grimes Arena as Irving MacArthur beat Plano West earlier in the week, and North Crowley defeated Lubbock Coronado. Those two tangled last night in Fort Worth. Duncanville played Midland in the late game, with the winners playing in the regional final, and a trip to state on the line this afternoon. And of course, in Class 4A as well, some of the area teams that moved on. Frisco Wakeland, one of the top teams in the state, beat McKinney earlier in the week, playing in Garland this weekend in the regional tournament. Big upset happened last week when Stephenville upset Aledo, which was 4th in the state. They lost Logan Mitty in that game, their leading scorer. However, in Stephenville's next game, they lost to Mansfield Summit. Dallas Lincoln having a great playoff run with victories over Frisco Liberty and Rockwall, two of the top-ranked teams in the state as well. And just like on the boys' side, the girls, we can hoop it up here in North Texas, can't we, Tim?
Absolutely. A lot of good, strong programs. You should see the area well represented when it comes down to the state tournament.
And you see them move on and play very well in college as well. We've talked about Odyssey Sims from Irving MacArthur, who's a freshman star for what has been a #1 ranked team in college basketball, Baylor. And I think Alexis Jones, the junior from MacArthur, who's playing over in Fort Worth at the regional tournament this weekend, is every bit as good as Odyssey, which takes nothing away from Odyssey, but Alexis, very highly recruited as well.
She sure is. That MacArthur program has really gained a reputation for producing some great college talent, and she's just yet another one in what should be a long line. They really didn't miss a step with Odyssey moving on, and Alexis looks like they could be a favorite when it comes to getting to Austin, maybe even winning the state.
All right, Tim, we appreciate you joining us as usual, and there's much more still to come here on VYPE TV. Coming up next, we'll introduce you to the soccer family of North McKinney, which includes a father, his son, and his daughters. Plus, talk about recruiting for Texas A&M with our expert David McNabb, and we'll tell you about some recruits from unexpected universities. That and more as VYPE TV continues.
DFW's February high school sports magazines are on free racks now. This month we reveal our Powerade All VYPE football teams, slating the area's best players and coaches, and 3 regional MVPs. VYPE DFW looks back at National Signing Day and looks ahead, ranking the area's top 2012 football recruits. VYPE DFW also presents our new redesigned website, providing breaking high school sports news and recruiting updates, as well as an opportunity for schools to profit from their own website. Go to vype.com/DFW today.
McKinney North High School assistant soccer coach Manuel Mendiola is helping the team achieve great results. This season, the Lady Bulldogs are 8-2-3 overall, and they're tops in District 17 4A. But Coach Mendiola has 2 additional reasons to be dedicated. He has 2 daughters on the team. One of them, Belicia, has already scored 12 goals this season. And the girls aren't the only family members in the sport. It's safe to say that soccer is in the blood of the Mendiola family. Meet them in this week's Family Affair.
I was born in Mexico, grew up in the only club I remember playing for was America. And then when we moved to the States, there wasn't much going on, not even high school soccer, so I didn't get a chance to experience what my kids are going through right now, you know, at the club level and of course high school levels.
So my dad used to play on a Mexican league team, and I was going out there and playing with him and watching him because he was really good.
I'd watch my dad play, you know, his Mexican league, and it, you know, it just caught on.
That was the only memories basically I have of my life, because that's all we've been doing is just soccer, and that's how I grew up because my dad played it, and I've always liked what my dad does. You
know, my sisters and I, you know, we were always around the same age, and we'd bring a ball, we'd play on the sideline. Whenever it was halftime, we'd play in the field, and it was just fun.
We played some t-ball and this and that, and then finally said, okay, I want to play soccer.
When we were little, and I was just a little bit bigger than them, it was always 2-on-1, and my dad would make me work with my left foot, and it was always fun.
I'm more of the quick one, and I go to goal more because I play, up top, and I'm the one that scores the goals. My sister, she controls the field, and she distributes the ball. So we're two different people, but we still play, hard. I really look up to her because she's been through a lot, and she's improved a lot more than me, and I would proudly say she's better than me at soccer.
Belicia and Micaela, they started playing at the same time. Belicia was 4, Micaela was 5, and I was coaching them when they started at the recreational level. It was fun to see them grow, coaching them a little bit, and then finally they moved on to playing club, and that's when they separated. Once they separated at the age of 10, and the other one stayed at 9, then they took off in their separate ways.
We've just grown up together, and being able to play on the field and be together, it's just, we get to know each other so much more.
I think it's awesome because, whenever you go to the girls' games, not only are you supporting your team, but, you're there with, my dad being the coach and my sister's playing, they're on the field.
We're really lucky, we're blessed to have the kids, and I thank God, that He has allowed us to have, the means to provide for them. And we just love it. It's enjoyable. It's a family thing. The little one, we have a 4-year-old, Mirabel. She doesn't even know life without soccer because everything we do is go to soccer practice, go to soccer games. There's always soccer going on in my family.
What a great family. We have some sad news to report this week. Frisco Centennial offensive coordinator Ben Fricke passed away this week after losing a brief battle with colon cancer. He was only 35 years old. Ben was named first-team All-American in 1997 when he played at the University of Houston. He then played center for the Cowboys between 1999 and 2001, playing in 19 games and starting in 5. Ben has been coaching at Frisco Centennial for the past 3 years and helped the team to the playoffs this past season. Switching gears now, it's time for our recruiting update, and with that we welcome in David McNabb, VYPE recruiting expert, author of the weekly McNabb Report, and got a lot to get to in this week, including Texas A&M. But first off, some news this week. University of Texas, they got a pretty prized recruit out of Skyline High School, a wide receiver.
Yeah, Thomas Johnson, who is a big recruit, and my early prediction, since we predicted nobody remembers it later anyway, is I think, and I've seen him at Skyline out of the Wildcat formation, and Texas hasn't done that very much. He's that kind of athlete that, he's on the field, then all of a sudden they're snapping him the ball. I mean, he's a big-time player, and it had its typical domino effect of what other receivers aren't going to Texas. Texas is kind of holding out for Caleb Jones, Robert Jones, the former Cowboys son. And
a little pipeline there to Skyline, I guess, as far as wide receivers for Texas now.
Yeah, they're definitely getting in at Skyline.
All right, let's talk Texas A&M because as of a couple of days ago, at least, checking the Arrivals website, 14 commitments for Texas A&M, several from the local area.
Yeah, Texas A&M, when Coach Sherman came back, because he's been in this area before, or he was at A&M before, he brought back Tim Cassidy, his recruiting coordinator, and so it just took them a little while, but you could tell a year ago that they were really, starting to get in on this class of 2012 kids, and they really concentrated on Dallas, which had kind of slipped away from them a little bit. And they got a huge commit from DeSoto defensive end / linebacker Michael Richardson.
Seems like they've had a DeSoto defensive end / outside linebacker that's done well for them the last few years.
Yeah,
Von Miller.
And you don't even have to be as good as Von Miller. You just have to be close to be mentioned in that. And so he's a really talented player. They're doing really well in Dallas. They're not getting, maybe the sexy players, although I'm still holding out that Jonathan Gray, there's a chance from the running back from Alito that A&M could be the place.
And they've also got Denton Ryan, linebacker Jordan Richmond. How many D1 players are on that Denton Ryan defense?
Whoever, it was just amazing watching that defense play. I mean, they were so good this year. And Jordan Richmond is is one of many, and their biggest name kid hadn't even committed yet in Mario Edwards.
Well, that's exactly right. A couple of big linemen as well for A&M. Was it Kimo Tapati from Bell?
From Bell.
And Michael Wilson from Aledo.
Yeah, Michael Wilson is a big kid who blocks for Gray at Aledo, who's been on the radars, and Mike Sherman knows how to pick out linemen. In fact, he got another one of the Matthews clan out of Houston this week that's going to go there.
And they're building an offensive line there. I mean, Luke Jokel, first time I met the Jokel kid, I said, this kid's going to play in the NFL someday. And that was when he was at Arlington High School, and he starts as a true freshman at left tackle for Texas A&M this past year.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, and Tom Rossley, who's been in this area, was once a head coach at SMU and was Forrest Gregg's offensive coordinator. I mean, they really know what they're doing, and they're picking the players, and Sherman's great. That's what he was an offensive line coach at A&M. So the A&M's getting it rolling.
All right, David McNabb, we appreciate it as usual, and there's more to come on VYPE TV. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Coming up next on TXA 21, Big 12 basketball, Texas Tech takes on Oklahoma State. Then at 3, the 5th-ranked Texas Longhorns battle Colorado. That's all happening today right here on TXA 21. Thanks for joining us this morning for VYPE TV. We'll be back next week at noon to bring you the best stories in North Texas high school sports. Have a great day, and this is worth another look. Jordan Green from Flower Mound High School, the dunk of the week, if not the dunk of the year. Reminds me of David McNabb in his basketball playing days at Arlington Sam Houston. Or maybe not. We'll see you again next week on VYPE TV.